Hello, this is Film Nerd Talks Films, and I love films. So just today, I watched Warcraft, and it's took me a while to get to watching it because I've not had money, but finally I got to watch it, and here are my general thoughts. So this film is very visually beautiful. You know, all the surroundings, the environments that the characters are in. You know, there's shadow, there's light, there's depth, there's layers. You know, it's so beautiful. You know, the surroundings are so beautiful, and they look so real. It looks pretty incredible. You know, so it's a pretty damn beautiful movie. I believe they call it motion capture. The motion capture on the main character, Duratan, was absolutely phenomenal. Like, we're talking Andy Serkis in the 8 films, phenomenal. Like, the animation on the character was incredible. Like, I found myself questioning at the very start of the film, because one of the first shots you see is Duratan. I found myself questioning if Duratan was real, because it looks so incredible. So this film is visually, this film's quite beautiful. The action scenes are also really good. Yeah, like, I felt with the action scenes, with the battle scenes, I felt every hammer blow, every sword clash, every swipe of a sword. I felt it because of the sound, because of the use of music. You know, every battle scene felt pretty epic. Every battle scene felt pretty epic. You know, I felt very invested in the battle scenes. I'd almost say that almost as much as I would if I was watching a Lord of the Rings movie. Almost as invested in terms of the battle scenes. They were almost at that sort of level. Yeah, they were almost at that sort of level, you know, of epicness. I love the main character, and I love the arc that him and his family. I love I quite love. I like the story arc that him and his family go through. I think it's very beautiful. I think it's very tragic, very sad. And yeah, I was very invested in those 3 characters, Duratan, his wife, and Duratan's son. I was really invested in those 3 characters and their arcs. Basically because it's the only story arc it was the only story arc that was truly completed, I felt, and the only story arc that wasn't convoluted by the rest of the narrative. As I pointed out just before, the use of music is great. It sets a real big epic feel for the film. But I think that the key thing about this film is it is visually gorgeous. You know, that's the key thing. I think that the key thing is that's the key thing I took away from it. So where this film falls flat is it falls flat on a few things. The human characters, it gets kind of boring and slow when it's on the human characters, because I think it feels like the orcs have this backstory and this lore about, or you know, being about only having one life, and that being, you know, war, You know, they're governed by a tyrant. Basically, they're led by a tyrant, pretty much. So they've got a certain, you know, they've got a certain history to them. They've got a certain something you can grab to, something you can grab onto, get invested with. Whereas it feels like the humans are just there. There's not really much set up for them. You know, not really. They just feel like they're just there. Yeah, and you know, and this film introduces so many subplots, so many character arcs, so many locations, so many characters, and the actors are trying their best, but you know, they're only getting so much screen time each, and as a result of that, nothing in the film is really balanced, and you get all these characters, locations, story arcs, and it feels like nothing's really finished, nothing's really truly finalized. Not really, and it feels like it. With all that's happening, it feels like, yeah, with all that's happening, it feels like the key narrative takes a backseat. Which is a real shame because Duncan Jones has really made something visually beautiful here. But all the actors, Ben Foster, Paula, Paula, uh, uh, Patan, who plays quite a strong female character. I, th- I, I think. Obviously, Daniel Wu, who voices who does who yeah who's uh, uh, Duratan, also great job there. So this film, I mean, this film has a lot of issues. It has a lot of things holding it back from being truly great. And you know, like it gets so convoluted, and there's a romance in there that feels so forced in, and just it starts and then it's over, and it's not built to. It's you know. So I'm gonna quickly look at my notes, just very quickly. But yeah. But yeah. The villain. Sorry. The villain. The villain was good. I quite enjoyed the villain. I found him quite intimidating, and I hated him. Actually, I actually hated him in quite a few scenes. Um, yeah. Yeah, and basically, yes, this film has a lot going. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes, trying to make sure I don't miss anything. So this film has a lot going for it, and or a lot against it at the same time. It has a little more against it, and I feel like Duncan Jones was trying to make a film for the Warcraft fans who play the game, for the Warcraft gamers and the non Warcraft gamers like myself, and as a result, it all got very convoluted and everywhere. You know, like the lore alone. I feel like there's a lot of lore being thrown at us, and as a result, there's just too much happening, and characters aren't properly developed. Characters we should care about, but we just kind of don't because, or at least I didn't, because they were so underdeveloped. Because there's so much happening. There's too much happening in this film, despite how visually beautiful it is. And because there's so much in the film, it feels very bloated and very long. Like I found myself feeling dozy in parts of this film. It was feeling very bloated and very long. So yeah, I would recommend this film if you're looking for a great fantasy fun flick, but endure, because I'd say yeah, you have to endure. You know, I mean, because this film is good, but it's not as good as it could be because of all the things that I feel hold it back. But I think I look forward to a sequel, and I hope Duncan Jones takes notes and improves on the sequel, because he did a great job visually with this film, but everything else just didn't quite work. But I see what he was trying to do. I do. I don't think it worked, but I just don't think it worked very well. But all in all, not a terrible film. I'd give it a 3.5 star. It's definitely watchable, but I just wouldn't rush back to watch it in too much of a hurry because of how long and bloated it felt. But visually great. Duncan Jones did a great job. Fun. It's a very fun action. It's a very fun fantasy film. That in some ways breaks the bad video game movie curve. In some ways. I mean, it's hard to tell at this point. But yeah, Duncan Jones, great job, man. But try and do better on the. Try and do better on the sequel. So that was my review for Warcraft. I'll be having more reviews coming your way soon, and I will see you on my next on my next review. Goodbye.